In today's video, we're going to be talking, unfortunately, about the dark side of buying a home in Winston-Salem. Things you need to know. Let's get into the video. What's going on, guys? My name is Ramon Lomeli. I'm a local realtor and the team leader of the Smart Move Group brokered by eXp Realty. We're here in Winston-Salem, but we've got connections all over the state. Now, I wanted to bring this video to you today because I have to be honest with you guys. There are some things that people don't think about or don't expect when it comes to moving to the Winston-Salem area or just generally North Carolina. Obviously, my videos are mostly about Winston-Salem. So whether you're thinking about moving to Winston-Salem from another part of the state or out of state or even out of country, you're gonna find some value in this video. Before we jump into it though, I do wanna remind you that if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all that I can do to help, do not hesitate to reach out. Number on the screen, that's my personal cell phone number, goes to no one else but me. I'm the one texting you back or calling you back. Let's waste no more time. The first thing on today's list that you need to be aware of, a dark side of buying a home in Winston-Salem, is when it comes to dealing with new construction. Now, new construction homes are not going to be like the most popular. They're definitely plentiful. There's tons of them. But whenever I talk to people that are thinking about moving to the Winston-Salem area, new construction is one of those things where it's kind of a sore subject because they make it so hard to not go with new construction because there's so many, they're everywhere. They offer some great incentives, but your homes are gonna be soulless, they're gonna be kind of lifeless. They have no mature landscaping, so look, some people describe it as like the neighborhood looking naked because there's no trees, there's no vegetation, right? Everything's still growing. Also, a lot of the home builders build the homes and they make them all look very, very similar to each other. So it's one of those negatives about moving to Winston-Salem where depending on your budget, and depending on your time frame and what you're looking for, a lot of times the new construction route is the best answer. And there's some great builders in the area that I have amazing relationships with, but just know that you're not gonna get something with tons of charm, tons of character, tons of, you know, other things that you might look for in a home that may be an established home already. You're gonna get something that's, probably gonna be vinyl, depending on the price range, of course. It's gonna look very, very similar to your neighbor's house. There's gonna be, not a lot of landscaping. There's not gonna be a lot of soul or a lot of life to that neighborhood or to that home, to the homes in that neighborhood. And then the HOA is almost always gonna have an HOA. So there's some things that you need to be aware of when you're looking at new construction homes. I will say though that the reason that I put that on this list is because you're probably gonna run into that depending on your price range, because it is very hard to say no to them whenever you're moving to the area from another place. Where else can you find out exactly what your home is going to look like, when it's going to be ready, which piece of land it's going to be sitting on, or you get to pick the floor plan on where you want it, when you want it to be done by, and then they're offering some insane incentives. So there is a positive and a reason why most people that are moving to the area are going for new construction homes. And so it's obvious, right? But you got to know that unless you have a very, very healthy budget, you're probably going to be moving into a community that there's not a lot of land between homes and they all look very similar. The number 2 thing on today's list is going to be the new Forsyth County tax bills. Forsyth County homeowners received their new tax assessment earlier in the year, and honestly, it caused a lot of confusion. The Forsyth County Tax Sales Office analyzed over 30,000 sales recently, and it helped them come up with a new tax rate. The Forsyth County Tax Office analyzed over 30,000 plus recent sales, and that helped them come up with new property values. With home prices rising, naturally, the tax assessment's opinion of value is also rising. This is kind of the remnants of the pandemic era, home prices increasing. And on average here in Forsyth County, home prices increased around 43%. So insane, but that's what we're dealing with. So that is the bad news. The bad news is that your property values are increasing, which sounds like a horrible idea. Thankfully though, and we don't know the exact answers yet, thankfully though, what we do know is that typically when home prices increase, especially by this amount, the tax rate at which we're taxed on actually goes down. Now we're still expecting to pay more. We're not going to expect a decrease in property taxes, but not to the extent that everyone was scared of at first when this was initially announced. Now you're going to have to call me or keep up with me because I might have to do a video on this in the future because we don't actually quite yet know. We won't know until probably August, September what the new tax rate is going to be and therefore what your next tax bill is going to be. So it's a lot of unknowns. Your taxes, the dark side here is that the taxes are the property taxes are on your real estate are probably going to go up. So if you're looking into the area, be aware that whatever it says on that tax amount for the property, you can expect that to be more. How much more, we don't know yet, but it is gonna be more. We're gonna keep going with this list, guys. Number 3 today is gonna be the competitive market. Now, even though we are seeing homes last longer on the market, we are seeing less inventory still hit the market, which means that whenever a home that is, has all bells and whistles, is priced appropriately, especially anything under like the $400,000, $350,000 price range, it's typically gonna move quite quickly, right? We're not seeing 14 to 30 offers per property, more like we used to see, but we are still seeing properties on the market move anywhere from 5 to 12 days usually is what we're seeing. On the lower end of those numbers, if you are talking about a home that's, under 300, under 350, and it's in good shape and it's a, well thought of area. So the bad news there is that it is still competitive. Now you might get a chance to go see it today and, sleep on it, talk to the missus, and then make a decision. Not guaranteed, but you may be able to get that, which is way more than what you used to get back in the day. However, that's just something that we have to compete with. You're not going to be able to just sit there and think about it for 2 weeks and then decide if you want to go through with it or not. You're still going to make a move pretty quickly. We currently have about 2.7 months of inventory, which is still technically considered a seller's market. So we're still technically in a seller's market, but honestly, this seller's market is nothing compared to what we saw in the 2020, 2021, 2022 markets. That was insane. So I guess a silver lining there is, even though we are technically still in the seller's market, we are having a little bit more time usually to review and think about things. The next one is definitely a big deal, and that's probably why I left it towards the end of the video, but that's gonna be rising prices. Before we touch on that though, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you to hit that like button, leave me a comment, but above all, subscribe, because those kinds of things keep me motivated to keep pumping out these videos for you. And you never know, you might help someone else due to how the algorithms work or whatever, help someone else find this video that may need it. I'm also going to leave you a bunch of helpful links in the about section of this video, including the free Winston Salem relocation guide, as well as some of the other awesome links that I have in there, which are going to be some links to homes that are currently for sale in the area. It stays active as homes come on the market and sell, they get updated. But also my social media handles, and not only does everyone need more friends on social media, but the reason you may want to follow me is because I post a lot of local content. Restaurant reviews, things to do in the city. You might see me and my family on vacation or some silly trends from social media on there, but a lot of my content is dedicated to showing you what living in Winston-Salem is like. So make sure you give me a follow on there. Links in the about section. And don't forget, name, number on the screen. That's my personal cell phone number. Goes to no one else but me. You call it right now, it will ring. It's been ringing off the hook today, but I will call you back or text you back as soon as I can. So rising prices, another dark side of the Winston-Salem real estate market. It's no secret that prices, generally speaking, everywhere have risen across the nation. And this trend has continued over the last few years, even if we are past that pandemic market. So this will give you a little bit of an indicator as to what the real estate market is doing. The average home price here in Winston-Salem in 2022 was $312,000 roundabout. In 2023, that number increased to $332,000. And in 2024, this is kind of crazy to say, the average home price rose to $348,000, which is insane. $350,000. Back in the day when I got started, that used to be considered almost a luxury home. So it's insane to see that. If I'm reading these numbers correctly, that tells me that even though, and this might be the silver lining here, that home prices continue to increase, that increase is starting to slow down and starting to kind of catch up back to the average rate of home price increasing. I believe that nationally the average home prices increases anywhere from 1.5 to 3% per year, year over year, the average home price, right? So that being said, we're still quite a bit higher than that currently, but it's starting to catch back up to that norm. So we're hoping that prices maybe flatline, maybe go a little bit under, to especially when it comes to having to account for higher interest rates, but that is the reality. Home prices as a whole continue to increase in the Winston-Salem area and on average in the country as well. Another thing to highly consider when you're thinking about moving to the Winston-Salem area, and I really am concerned that not a lot of realtors that I'm seeing on YouTube are talking about this, is going to be the famous DOT project here called the Northern Beltway. Really, DOT projects in general, you need to make sure that you have a realtor that is aware and up to date with all these things. So essentially the Northern Beltway is a outer loop around the city. Many cities in North Carolina are doing this. I don't know if they're doing them in another state. I should probably look that up. I know Charlotte's probably got the most famous one, but essentially we don't really have a huge traffic problem here in the Winston-Salem area, at least not compared to bigger cities, obviously. regs or construction might slow us down, but by and large, we're not stopping gridlock traffic every single day for hours on end. But we are getting ahead of that curve, right? So we are anticipating the city growing, which I love. And so they started building, and part of it is already completed, which is the Beltway around the city. What that means is instead of the traffic traveling through the major arteries of the highway systems through town, it's going to actually go around the city. So even though physically you're going geographically speaking, maybe that's not the right terminology, but you're basically going around the city. So it's going to be a longer distance, but quicker, so you don't have to go through, especially downtown Winston-Salem, which is one of those arteries where everything gets clogged up during rush hour. So I think that it's a fantastic thing that Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, or maybe it's the NCDOT, I don't know, I'm not sure who to thank, but that they're kind of thinking ahead. They're solving an issue that may become a problem in the future and is not currently affecting it. So that's amazing. Bigger cities are doing this already. Maybe that's where they saw this and said, hey, let's get ahead of this problem. It's working. I mean, in Charlotte, you still have traffic. In Raleigh, you still have traffic, but it definitely alleviates a lot of that stress and a lot of that traffic by just providing other routes for people to get other places. Now, I'm not making this just sound like all, happy-go-lucky, rose-colored sunglasses. There are some negatives. Obviously, there's going to be more construction. Huge, long-term, billion-dollar projects are going on. It's affecting everyone because you really have to go through construction to get to certain parts of Winston-Salem, so it's kind of just affecting everyone's quality of life in that aspect. But not only that, the last thing you want to do is for a realtor to sell you a lovely house in the path of the new highway, because then eminent domain is going to take over, and then you're going to have to sell the house, and it's going to be a big headache, right? So you want to 100% avoid that if at all possible. I'm sure there are going to be some amazing benefits to come with this Beltway. Like I said, lesser traffic, get everyone around town faster, but you have to be aware of the negatives, because if you end up buying a home that is on the path of the new highway, not only, maybe not even in the path of the highway, but just in the immediate area, because then that's going to turn into maybe more of a commercial area. It's going to have more traffic, higher speed limits. So those are all things to keep in mind, be aware of if you're thinking about buying a home here. Thank you so much for watching this video with me. Don't forget to go check out some of the other videos on the channel. I provide a lot of information, a lot of content on there for you guys to learn more about the city. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in next week's video.